Hey folks, welcome back. I can see it clearly. You're out here begging for their attention, constantly making plans to attract them, trying to make them laugh, even bending over backward to keep them interested. But what is this doing to you? You've completely lost sight of your own worth, leaving your life and value right there on the table for someone who doesn't even see it. My friend, that's where you've got it all wrong. What are you doing to yourself? Seriously, don't you see your own value? Do you really think that chasing after them and begging for their attention is going to change anything? Wake up! They won't miss you, they won't value you, and they sure as hell won't come crawling back while you're always there, desperate for a glimpse of their approval. You've done it all, haven't you? And where has it gotten you? Absolutely nowhere. Do you think attracting them and getting them to love you will complete you? Do you really believe that someone else's approval is what will fix your broken self-esteem? Because let me tell you, if you think that's what makes you whole, you're dead wrong. You're not being stoic by chasing them. You're not powerful by giving your energy away like it's worthless. Where's your backbone? Where's your self-respect? When you're constantly seeking their validation, you're telling them you don't have any value unless they give it to you. And guess what? That's why they don't value you. Seneca said we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and right now, your imagination is killing you. You're imagining that if you just keep trying, they'll eventually see your worth. But here's the truth. They won't. Not until you pull back, not until you stop groveling, and not until you show them that you're fine without them. Do you want them to start missing you? Then stop trying to make them feel like their love is the missing piece in your life. Walk away. Let them feel your absence, because that's when they'll realize what they've lost. I know it's going to be difficult. Right now, they're all over your mind, consuming your thoughts. You're probably thinking about them constantly, wondering if they're thinking about you, replaying every moment. But you have to do this. You have to step back. In this fast-paced world, no one values the person who's always there, always available, always waiting for a scrap of attention. The hard truth, they probably prefer it that way. In fact, let's get real. They're likely using you. You're convenient and easy. And while they enjoy the attention you give, they're looking elsewhere, at someone who knows their worth, someone who doesn't need their validation to feel complete. They're drawn to someone with a life full of passion, someone who isn't waiting around for them to decide their worth. They're attracted to strength, independence, and the person who doesn't care whether they stay or go, because they know they'll be fine either way. That's who they're looking at, and that's who you could be. But right now, you're letting yourself be used, and they see it. So why would they respect you? Why would they value you when you're not even valuing yourself? Stop being so damn available. Start showing them what it feels like to miss you. Show them what it's like when you stop being their backup plan and start living like someone who knows their own worth. So, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make them start missing you? Today, we're diving into something powerful, the absence treatment. You'll be amazed at how impactful this shift can be. It's not just a modern-day tactic. This wisdom runs deep. Our ancient legends, including the Stoics, understood the value of detachment, the importance of stepping back to let others feel the weight of your absence. They mastered the art of making people realize your worth by not always being available. The truth is, when you stop pouring all your energy into someone who takes you for granted and instead refocus that energy on yourself, they'll notice. They'll feel it. And trust me, that's when they'll start missing you in ways you never imagined. The more you hold your own, the more they will crave what they've lost. Now it's time for an affirmation. As our wise Stoic friend once said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Close your eyes and affirm with me, I refuse to beg. Feel it, folks. Let that sink in and burn inside you. Don't stop here. Take it a step further. Share it in the comments and let the universe see exactly where you stand. You are no longer the one chasing. You are no longer the one begging. This is your moment. Now, are you ready to dive into the 10 things that will happen when you decide to give them the absence treatment? Trust me, this is where the real shift begins. Let's go. Number 1, they feel overlooked and invisible. So folks, you've decided to give them the absence treatment. You've made that critical choice to stop chasing, stop begging, and stop being the one who's always there for someone who clearly doesn't value you the way you deserve. Let's be honest. At first, they might not even notice. That's right. They're so accustomed to your constant presence and having you at their disposal that it will take a moment for them to realize something's different. It's like air. You don't notice it until it's gone. You've been the air they breathe, and when that suddenly vanishes, that's when they start to panic. But let's be real, this isn't easy. Walking away, pulling back and giving them the absence treatment will feel like tearing yourself apart. You've spent so much time and energy trying to keep them in your life, trying to hold on, and now you're stepping away. Your mind will mess with you. Thoughts will flood in like, what if this makes them pull away? What if they forget you altogether? That's fear talking. The fear of losing something that was never truly in your grasp to begin with. You have to push through that. Why? Because when you keep giving, when you're always there, and when you never leave room for them to miss you, they start to believe they're the center of your world and that you'll never walk away. That's why they don't notice your absence at first. They think you'll be back. But when you don't return, and they start to realize that the dynamic has shifted, that's when it hits them like a slap to the face. Think about it. Imagine someone in your life who's always there, always making plans, always calling, always trying to get your attention. Then one day, they just stop. At first, you might think, oh, they'll call me later, or they're just busy. But days go by, weeks even, and still nothing. How does that feel? Suddenly, that person you used to barely acknowledge becomes the one thing you can't stop thinking about. You start to wonder why they stopped reaching out. What changed? Did something happen? Are they upset with you? That's exactly how they'll feel when you pull back and take away your presence. You leave a void, and that void makes them feel invisible. They'll start to question themselves and wonder why you're no longer around. Here's the kicker. They'll miss the attention they once took for granted. You were the one who made them feel important, seen and valued, and now that's gone. They're left standing in the dark, wondering what happened to the spotlight that was always on them. Now, let's dig deeper. Why do they feel invisible? It's because they've built their sense of worth, at least partially, on the attention you've been giving them. When you pull that away, they're forced to face themselves without the buffer of your validation. They'll start to feel small and insignificant. This isn't about playing games. It's about making them realize the importance of what they've been ignoring. You're not some backup plan or a second thought. You're a person with value, and they're about to see that value in a way they never have before. But let me ask you, what if it's hard? What if every part of you is screaming to reach out, to check in, or to just send that one little text? This is where the real battle happens, inside you. You'll feel that pull, that desire to return to what's familiar, even though it hurts. Your mind will try to convince you that walking away is a mistake, that maybe they'll move on if you don't keep trying. This is your fear talking. Your power lies in breaking free from that fear. Fear keeps you stuck in a loop, chasing after something that never valued you in the first place. Here's the harsh truth. The more you chase, the more they run. The more available you are, the less they respect you. People value what they fear losing. If you're always there, always accessible, they will never feel the need to chase after you. They'll never realize what it's like to be without you. That's why the absence treatment works. It forces them to confront that fear and feel invisible, just like they made you feel for so long. Imagine this. You've been the steady light in their life, always shining. They've been basking in your warmth, assuming it will always be there. But now, the light is gone. What happens when the light goes out? They feel cold and alone, as if something crucial has been taken away from them. That's exactly what they'll experience when you implement the absence treatment. They'll feel invisible because they never truly appreciated your presence. Now, let's flip the script. What happens if you don't walk away? What if you keep showing up, keep trying, and keep begging for their attention? You'll teach them one thing. They can keep using you and ignoring you because you'll never leave. You'll be stuck in a cycle where your worth is tied to their validation, and guess what? They'll never give you the validation you crave. Why would they? You've already shown them that you'll settle for scraps. That's why you have to pull back. You have to let them feel your absence. It may feel impossible at first, like you're walking away from something you desperately want, but that's the illusion. What you truly want is their respect and attention, and you won't get that by always being there. By stepping back, you force them to realize what they've lost. They'll start to feel invisible in your world, and that's when they'll begin to chase you. You have to do this. It's going to be hard, and it's going to hurt at first. Every instinct inside you will tell you that walking away will push them further away, but the truth is, it's the only way to make them see your value. They won't appreciate your worth until they feel your absence, and that absence will hit them like a freight train. So here's your affirmation for today. I no longer chase. Let it sink in and feel it in your bones. If you're ready, drop it in the comments and let the world and the universe know where you stand. You are no longer chasing, no longer begging, and no longer waiting for their validation. You're walking away, and trust me, they're going to feel it. Number 2, their daily routines start falling apart. So folks, after you've decided to give them the absence treatment, the next thing that happens is their daily routines start to fall apart. Now, I know this sounds dramatic, but trust me, it's real. People thrive on routine, habits, and patterns. They need to know what to expect. When someone has you as their constant, their safety net, they often build their life around that, maybe even without realizing it. But when that steady rhythm they've been relying on starts to falter, they'll initially try to carry on as if everything is normal. They might brush off your absence, thinking you'll come back because they always do. But as days pass and you're nowhere to be found, it hits them, not all at once, but in those quiet, mundane moments of life. Those are the moments when they used to expect you, relying on your presence to add that extra layer of comfort or validation. And now, there's nothing, just silence. Let's make one thing clear. This isn't about you sitting around waiting for them to notice. Hell no. This is where you stand strong. You're not sitting by the phone, hoping they realize what's missing. No, you've moved on to focusing on yourself, your growth, your path. You're not waiting for their validation because you've found your own. That's the real power here. You're not lurking in the shadows, hoping they miss you. You're out there living your life, with or without them. Meanwhile, they're struggling to figure out why things feel off. It's subtle at first. Maybe they don't have that person to vent to after a long day, or perhaps they're not receiving that good morning text that made them feel important. But it's more than just missing a message. It's a disruption in their emotional routine. They're beginning to realize that you were a source of stability, and now that stability is gone, which messes with them, even if they don't admit it. It's like a car that suddenly starts running on low fuel. It still moves, but not as smoothly or efficiently. They find themselves distracted and unable to focus, losing that easy confidence they had when they knew you were always there. They'll start to question themselves. Did I mess up? Why aren't they reaching out? Those questions will creep in during the most random parts of their day, while they're at work, out with friends, or even in the middle of conversations with others. That's your absence working its magic. And here's the thing, you're not sitting around trying to guess when they'll crack. You're not playing the waiting game. That's what's crucial. You've moved beyond them, and that's what they'll start to feel. They'll sense that you're not just taking a break. You're actually living your life without them. You're no longer available, and that's what really shakes them. They might not be checking their phone constantly at first, but eventually they will. It starts with casual curiosity, but soon becomes a need. They'll start thinking, "What are they doing?" Or, "Why haven't I heard from them?" It's that gnawing doubt that begins to eat away at their confidence. Their routine was built on the foundation of knowing you were always there. When that foundation crumbles, everything else starts to follow. Now, let's talk about where you are in all of this. You're not just a placeholder in their life. You have things to do, goals to achieve, and people who value your presence. You've stepped out of the shadows, and you're no longer the person they expect to be waiting in the wings. This is the real game changer. You've stopped basing your self-worth on their attention, and now you're thriving without it. But don't think for a second that they're not noticing. As their routine starts to fall apart, they'll realize something critical. They weren't as independent as they thought. They relied on you more than they'd ever admit. You were their emotional support, their constant, and now that's gone. They'll find themselves stumbling through the day, trying to fill the gaps where you once stood. The harder they try, the more they'll realize that no one else quite fits the role you played. They'll start searching for someone else to fill that void, but guess what? It won't work, because people like you don't come around every day. You brought a unique value to their life, and your absence is a stark reminder of that. Now, they're left trying to piece together a routine that's crumbling, and they can't figure out how to move forward. Why does everything feel out of sync? Here's the kicker. While their life is slowly falling apart, you're building yours. You're not sitting there wondering when they'll reach out. You're not holding your breath, hoping for a message. You're moving forward, and in doing so, you're shifting the balance of power. It's no longer in their hands, it's in yours. Let them feel the consequences of taking you for granted. They'll start to notice the cracks in their day, the moments where you used to be. They'll try to fill those cracks, but it won't be the same. Their routines, habits, and very sense of stability will continue to crumble. All the while you'll be thriving. Hang in there, because next we'll explore how they feel the sharp sting of loneliness without you. It's about to get even more intense, so stay tuned. You're going to want to hear this. Number 3, they feel the sharp sting of loneliness. After you've stepped back and given them the absence treatment, there comes a point when they start to feel something they've been avoiding for a while, the sharp sting of loneliness. This is the moment when reality hits them. You were the constant, the one who filled their empty moments, and now that space is filled with silence. Trust me, silence can be deafening. At first, they'll try to brush it off. Maybe they'll distract themselves with other people or things that make them feel important. But it doesn't take long for them to realize something is missing. The noise, the attention, the validation. All of that is temporary. The one person who truly made them feel grounded, who gave them consistent energy, is no longer there. That void starts to gnaw at them. It's important to understand that loneliness is more than just missing someone. It's the feeling of disconnection, like something crucial is absent from their life. When you've been their emotional anchor, the person who provided support without asking for much in return, they'll start to feel that emptiness in ways they didn't expect. Suddenly, they're not surrounded by people who genuinely care. They're not receiving that thoughtful message or call from you. The world feels a little colder, a little more distant. The thing is, They never thought they'd feel lonely because they always had your attention on tap. They took you for granted, never imagining a world where you wouldn't be there, waiting eagerly to be part of their life. But now they're left with their own company, and it's not as comforting as they thought it would be. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about realizing that the person who used to fill those empty spaces, who freely gave their time and energy, is gone. The sharp sting comes when they recognize they're surrounded by noise but feel more alone than ever. They might try to find comfort in superficial connections, but they won't be able to shake the feeling that something deeper is missing, and that's you. They may attempt to reach out to others to fill that void, but it won't work. You can't replace genuine connection with distractions, and that's exactly what they'll come to realize. They might be surrounded by people but feel completely isolated because the person who made them feel seen and understood is no longer available. That's when the loneliness hits hard. They'll start to reflect on the times you were there for them, the moments you filled, their life with meaning, with real connection. They'll think back to when you were the one who listened, who showed up, who cared without expecting anything in return. Now that's gone, and they're left with a hollow feeling that no one else can fill. This is the power of your absence. It forces them to confront what they've lost, and that realization is painful. They begin to understand that they didn't just lose someone who cared. They lost someone who gave their life substance, someone who made them feel like they weren't alone in this world. Now they're left with their own thoughts, their own loneliness, and it stings. Here's the truth. Loneliness isn't just a consequence of being alone, it's a consequence of losing someone valuable. And you, my friend, are valuable. They'll start to realize that, but by then, it might be too late. The sting of loneliness is their burden to bear now, serving as a harsh reminder of what they had and took for granted. So stand strong in this moment. It's tough, I know, but this is where the shift happens. They'll feel it deep down and will know they've lost something irreplaceable. Here's your affirmation: I stand strong. Let it sink in and drop it in the comments to let the world know that you're no longer the one filling someone else's empty spaces. You're standing firm, living for yourself, and letting them deal with the sting of their own loneliness. Don't go anywhere, because this loneliness is only the start. Next, we're talking about how they'll start comparing everyone to you. And trust me, this is where your power really shines. Stay with me, folks. It's important. Number 4, they start comparing everyone to you. After you've stepped back and given them the absence treatment, something even more powerful begins to unfold. They start comparing everyone to you. This is where the real shift happens. At first, they might have thought they could easily replace you, find someone else to fill the void, keep them entertained, or make them feel validated. But here's the harsh reality for them. No one else measures up. It begins subtly. Maybe they meet someone new or spend more time with others trying to fill the gap you left. But soon, they realize that something feels off. The new people they interact with might be fun or entertaining, but there's something missing. It's that connection, that depth, that realness, which only you brought into their life. They start to notice that the way others speak to them, treat them, or even the way they laugh just doesn't hit the same. They start comparing everyone to you. They might not admit it out loud, but internally it becomes a constant thought. They don't get me like they did, or they don't make me feel the way I felt with them. Slowly but surely, they begin to realize that what they had with you wasn't so easy to replace. You set a standard, and now no one else can reach it. You see, you were more than just someone to talk to or spend time with. You were someone who brought value into their life, who challenged them, and made them feel understood, and most importantly, you made them feel seen. Now that you're gone, they're stuck trying to find that same feeling in people who just don't have the same depth. It's like trying to replace a gourmet meal with fast food. It might fill them up for a while, but it doesn't satisfy them in the same way. Every time they meet someone new or try to distract themselves, they're constantly reminded of what they had with you. That's the power of the absence treatment. It forces them to face the reality that you're irreplaceable, and trust me, they feel it. They'll find themselves in conversations with others, suddenly thinking, "This isn't how we used to talk," or "They don't understand me the way they did." They'll notice how shallow other relationships feel compared to what you gave them, and that's where the comparisons start piling up. They might even begin questioning why they didn't appreciate you more when they had the chance. But by the time they realize that, it's already too late. Here's the thing. You set the bar high. You gave them something real, your time, your energy, your authenticity, and that's not something people find every day. The more they interact with others, the more they'll start to see the differences, and those differences will eat away at them. Every time they try to move on, they'll keep hitting that wall of comparison, and no one will measure up to you. They'll keep thinking, "Why can't I find someone like them?" But guess what? That's not your problem anymore. While they're stuck comparing everyone to you, you're living your life and moving forward. You're not waiting for them to realize what they lost. You've already leveled up. You've shown them through your absence that they'll never find someone like you. Now, every relationship they try to form will be haunted by the memory of what you brought into their life. The beauty of this moment is that you're no longer in the picture, but your impact is still being felt. Every time they compare someone to you and realize they fall short, it's another reminder of your value, another piece of evidence that they let something good slip through their fingers. Let them compare. Let them struggle with the reality that no one else will measure up. You've left a mark, and it's not going away. They'll keep searching, keep hoping they'll find another you, but deep down, they'll know it's a lost cause. Here's your affirmation. No one compares to me. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not just another face in the crowd. They'll keep comparing everyone to you and realizing that no one else measures up. Let them feel it, because they lost something truly special. They realize you were someone irreplaceable, and now they're stuck chasing shadows of what you once gave them. This is huge, but it's not over yet. Stick with me, because up next, we'll dive into the emotional turmoil they start struggling with. You'll see just how much your absence is shaking them up, so don't miss out. Number 5. They struggle with emotional turmoil. Folks, after you've stepped back and given them the absence treatment, something else starts to happen. They begin to struggle with emotional turmoil, and let me tell you, it's not pretty. You see, when you were in their life, you were the steady force, the one who brought calm and balanced things out. But now that you're gone, they're left to deal with the emotional mess on their own, and it's hitting them harder than they ever expected. At first, they'll try to play it cool, acting like nothing's wrong, as if your absence doesn't bother them. But here's the thing. Deep down, they feel it. They feel the weight of the emotional void you left behind, and it's starting to tear them apart. They might not show it on the surface, but underneath, they're a wreck. When you were around, they didn't have to face their emotions head-on. You were there to support them, to listen to them, to make them feel like everything would be okay. Now that you're gone, they have no choice but to confront those emotions on their own. And let me tell you, it's not easy for them. They start to feel the anxiety, the guilt, the regret, all the things they buried when they took you for granted. They begin to question themselves. Did I make a mistake? Why am I feeling like this now that they're gone? That's emotional turmoil. It's the storm that rages inside when they realize they've lost something important, something they didn't appreciate until it was too late. Now they're left trying to make sense of it all, but they can't. They're consumed by confusion and regret, and it's eating them alive. Here's what's happening. They're feeling the consequences of their own actions. They're realizing that the emotional security you provided wasn't something they could just replace. They might try to distract themselves or even get involved with other people, but none of it works. Those emotions are still there, lurking in the background, making them feel unstable and unbalanced. They can't shake it off because they know deep down that they messed up. As the emotional turmoil grows, they might even start to panic. They'll think, what if they've moved on? What if I've lost them for good? Those thoughts will circle in their mind, and every time they try to escape them, they'll be pulled right back into the storm. Your absence is forcing them to face their own emotional reality, and it's something they never prepared for. While they're struggling with this chaos, guess what? You're not. You've already done the hard work of walking away and standing strong. Now you're living your life, free of the emotional baggage they left behind. They're the ones drowning in it now, and that's not your problem anymore. Here's your affirmation. I release their chaos. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You've let go of their emotional mess, and now it's their turn to deal with the storm they created. We're deep into it now, but you can't stop here. Stay with me, because next we're going to talk about how they can't escape seeing happy couples everywhere. It's going to hit them hard, and this is important. Number 6, they can't escape seeing happy couples. Folks, after you've stepped back and given them the absence treatment, something else starts to happen, something they can't run from. Everywhere they look, they can't escape seeing happy couples, and let me tell you, this one cuts deep. They start noticing those couples holding hands, laughing, and enjoying each other's company, which reminds them of something they lost: you. At first, they might not think much of it, but as time passes, the sight of happy couples becomes a constant, painful reminder. It's like life is rubbing it in their face. They see what they had with you, what they took for granted, and it stings. The universe has a funny way of showing us what we've lost, doesn't it? Maybe they're out with friends, or maybe they're just scrolling through social media, but there's no escaping it. Everywhere they turn, they see people enjoying the kind of connection they once had, but didn't value. It's a brutal reality check. The irony is that when you were in their life, they probably didn't even notice these things. They didn't appreciate the way you cared, the time you spent, or the effort you put into the relationship. But now, every happy couple they see serves as a glaring reminder of the happiness they let slip through their fingers. And here's the real kicker. While they're stuck seeing what they lost, you're not waiting for them to realize it. You're moving forward, building your life, and growing stronger with every step. You're not living in the past, but they are. They can't escape the constant reminders of the love and care you offered, and it's eating away at them. Those happy couples are a reflection of what they could have had if they'd only valued you. So let them feel it. Let them face the reality that while they're watching happy couples, you're moving on and creating your own happiness. Here's your affirmation. I am my own happiness. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not waiting for someone to complete you. You're out there living your best life while they sit there, haunted by what they lost. Things are really starting to crumble for them, but it's about to get even worse. Stay tuned, because next we'll cover how they face social events all alone. Don't miss this next step. It's key. Number 7. They face social events all alone. Folks, after you've given them the absence treatment, another hard truth hits them. They start facing social events all alone. That's right. Those parties, gatherings, and events they once attended with you by their side are now situations they must walk into without your support. Trust me, it's uncomfortable for them. At first, they might act like they don't care, trying to put on a brave face, but as time goes on, the reality sets in. When you were there, they had someone to rely on, someone who made them feel confident, comfortable, and complete in social settings. You brought ease into their life, whether it was through your conversations, your presence, or simply your ability to make them feel seen and understood. Now they're standing there alone, and it's awkward. Every small talk and every interaction feels a little emptier without you. They glance around and see couples and groups of friends, and it reminds them of what's missing. You, that energy, that dynamic, it's gone. They didn't realize how much you anchored them. In those social settings, everything feels different now that you're not there. It's even worse when they're at events and see familiar faces. People might ask, "Where's so-and-so?" That question digs deep. They can't escape the fact that your absence is noticeable, not just to them, but to others as well. They're left stumbling through conversations, feeling like something important is missing. Meanwhile, you're thriving. You're out there attending your own events, creating your own moments, and showing up for yourself. You're not the one facing that awkwardness. They are. They're the ones realizing how much your presence once lifted them up, and now that support is gone. Let them feel it. Let them navigate those events alone, because that's the price they pay for taking you for granted. Here's your affirmation. I am complete on my own. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not waiting for anyone to make you whole. You're out there owning every room you walk into while they struggle to stand tall without you. It's getting uncomfortable for them now, but we're not done. Stick with me, because next we're diving into the moment they start hearing about your achievements. You're going to want to hear how this affects them. Number 8, they hear about your achievements. Folks, after you've given them the absence treatment and moved on, there's something that really stings. They start hearing about your achievements. That's right. While they're stuck in their emotional mess trying to fill the void you left, you're out there thriving and people are noticing. Eventually, those whispers of your success reach their ears. At first, they might brush it off, thinking it doesn't matter and that you'll come back to them eventually. But as your achievements stack up, it becomes impossible to ignore. They start hearing about your wins, whether it's a promotion, a new project, or simply you living your best life, and it hits them hard. They thought you'd be stuck waiting for them to realize your worth, but now they see you flourishing without them. This realization is brutal for them. They might even feel a sense of panic because they didn't expect you to rise so quickly. They thought they had more time and that you'd be stuck in the same place, waiting for them to come around. But no. While they were busy taking you for granted, you were out there leveling up. Hearing about your success from others is worse for them because it's out of their control. It's one thing to see you succeed, but when they hear about it through mutual friends, social media, or even random conversations, it stings even more. It's like the universe is making sure they know just how well you're doing without them. Let's be honest, they never saw it coming. While they're struggling to keep up, you're setting new goals and achieving them. You're no longer tied to their validation. In fact, your absence from their life has allowed you to grow, and now they're left wondering what could have been if they hadn't taken you for granted. Here's your affirmation. I thrive without them. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not just surviving, you're thriving, achieving, and becoming the person they'll wish they never let go of. This is where they really start to feel the weight of their mistakes. But there's more. Stay tuned, because up next, we'll cover when they finally recognize those mistakes. Trust me, you'll want to hear this part. Number 9, they finally recognize their mistakes. So folks, after you've stepped back, given them the absence treatment, and moved on with your life, there comes a moment they can't avoid any longer. They finally recognize their mistakes. It takes time, but trust me, it happens. They start piecing together the moments where they took you for granted, the times they overlooked your worth, and it hits them like a ton of bricks. At first, they might have thought you'd always be around, that they could treat you however they wanted, and you'd still be there. But as the silence stretches and they feel the weight of your absence, it becomes crystal clear. They messed up. They realize they had someone incredible right in front of them and let it slip through their fingers. This realization doesn't come easy. It's painful. They know there's no going back to how things were. They might replay old conversations, think back to the times you showed up for them, supported them, and cared for them unconditionally. Now they're left with nothing but regret. All those small moments, all the times they brushed you aside, suddenly feel like huge mistakes. Here's the truth. The longer they sit with it, the more it eats away at them. They start wondering, what if I hadn't been so careless? Or, what if I had treated them better? But now it's too late. You've moved on, and they're stuck with the knowledge that they're the reason things fell apart. They finally see their mistakes for what they are. Missed opportunities to appreciate someone who brought real value to their life. While they're swimming in regret, you're thriving. You're not the one stuck in the past questioning what could have been. You're building a future where you're valued and appreciated. They finally recognize their mistakes, but by now, you've grown too far beyond them to turn back. Here's your affirmation. I am irreplaceable. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're not the one looking back. They are. They're stuck realizing that the best thing they had is the one thing they lost for good. We're almost there, but this last step is crucial. Don't go anywhere, because next we're talking about how they relive the past through others' kindness. This is the final blow, so stay with me until the end. Number 10. They relive the past through others' kindness. So folks, after you've stepped back and left them to their own devices, there's one more thing they're bound to experience. They relive the past through others' kindness. You see, when someone else shows them kindness, whether it's a friend or a new person in their life, it triggers something deep inside them. They remember you. Why? Because the kindness they receive now only highlights the deeper care and love you gave them before. Sure, others might be kind or considerate, but it's never quite the same. When they experience moments of genuine kindness from others, it brings them back to the countless times you were there, giving them everything, your support, your time, your heart. But now, those moments are just memories. They relive your warmth and generosity through the actions of others, and it's bittersweet for them. They might even try to convince themselves that this new kindness is enough. But the truth is, no one else will ever offer the same depth, the same effort, the same energy that you gave. The smiles, the gestures, they'll all remind them of what they had with you and what they lost. It's a haunting reminder that the real, meaningful kindness they took for granted is gone. And while they're busy reliving the past through others' actions, you've already moved on. You're giving your kindness and love to people who truly deserve it. Here's your affirmation. I give my kindness to those who value it. Drop it in the comments and let the world know where you stand. You're no longer their memory. You're a force moving forward, leaving them to reminisce on what they'll never have again. So, folks, this was it. Now you're feeling powerful and ready to take control of your life. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we drop videos like this every single day to help you grow, get stronger, and realize your worth. And don't forget to hit that like button under this video. It helps us spread the message to more people who need it. You've got this. Keep standing strong, and we'll see you in the next one.